Welcome back. It's still Rise and Shine, and we're bringing you several topical conversations here on the show this morning. Of course, we'd like to encourage you. You can send us WhatsApp and text messages whilst we are on the interviews, and we'll get your contributions on the issues that we have on the floor this morning. At this point, we'll be moving to have the conversation around the aviation sector. Yesterday, we had Nacho go on a partial strike in Lagos State, grounding international flights from being able to operate. We had several passengers being stranded at the Murtala Muhammed International Airport yesterday. But a couple of hours later, that particular strike has been suspended. To have a conversation with us around this issue this morning, we have Chidebere Ohadoma, who is a flight dispatcher, Nigeria, CAA and FAA. Good morning, Chidebere. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning. How is Lagos this morning?
As usual, traffic up and down. There's no fuel. Petrol is scarce, 300, and the queue is much, as usual.
Okay. All right, so big issue. A couple of months ago, it was the unprecedented hike in airfares in Nigeria, and then at some point we were having conversation about the aviation fuel being very expensive. But yesterday we had NACO go on strike and delaying flights at the Murtala Muhammed International Airport. So we'd just like for you to give a background on the issues that caused that strike.
Okay. For us in the aviation industry, everything is regulated. You cannot pack the waste bin of the aircraft if you are not authorized to. So NACO is one of those agencies authorized to do the cleaning, the toiletries, that's the lavatory. They are also there to give you the potable water. They are the guys that provide stairs. They are the one that provides the GPU, which is the ground power unit. And they also provide passenger handling. They are also in charge of the baggage. Now, due to the increase in the fuel costs and airlines were jacking up their prices, NACO as a company decided to also increase their charges, right? So airlines now pay more for use of stairs, pay more for lavatory, pay more for potable water, pay more for baggage handling. However, the NACO management did not increase the incentive to the staff. So if you got an increase from the airlines, it's only natural that at least you should give your staff something. Now the staffs are saying, we pay more transport to come to work. We spend more on food. We do the same job. You have increased yours. Okay, add something to us to cushion the burden that we are faced with. The management seem to be reluctant to do that. So the staff decided to take the legal thing that is possible, and that is to go on down tooling. And they down tooled, and people felt their impact. And as such, the management decided to have that conversation now with an open mind, and it's resolved.
Okay, fantastic. Of course, Nigerian Aviation Handling Company (PLC) NACO embarked on that strike yesterday, and we saw how a lot of Nigerians were stranded at the airport, particularly in Lagos yesterday. It was quite a sorry situation. But again, before down tooling or before getting to the point where we say that this set of people are down tooling, was there some kind of conversations along those lines? Oh, we need an increase in salaries, and the authorities involved in this said they were not going to increase, or they were not doing anything about it. Because for NACO to down tool, and we had that kind of issue at the airport yesterday, did they not put the thoughts of Nigerians into perspective?
Anyway, you see, in the industry, we have different union. We have the Noate, that's the junior staff. We have the ATSAN. ATSAN is for the senior staff. Now, most of the NACO guys that work on the field, they fall under the category of the Nwate. Now, Nwate had a conversation with the NACO management on this regard. And if you remember in 2016, Aero had a similar issue, right? And the then human resource manager created a barrier that led to the shutdown in 2016. Unfortunately, that same person is the person managing NACO now. So she did same thing that led to this situation. Union will not just wake up one morning and shut down. This conversation would have been on for about 3 to 4 months before this, and this is just like a warning, because the communication day before yesterday is they're going to go on a warning. If it's not resolved, then they'll go into a full-fledged down tool.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, the of course, several stakeholders had called in and solicited that NACO stands down with the warning strike yesterday. We have heard reports that the strike has been stood down and flight operations would continue. But what would you say is going to be the resolution expected out of the situation? Because, like you said, yesterday was just a warning. If the people at the helms of affairs do not bring solution to the increments desired by NACO staff, what are your projections concerning this issue?
One thing I know for sure is that NACO will have to do some incentive. Now, what percentage of increase is something that I will not be able to say here. It has to be a win-win situation. The staff should understand that the company needs funds to stay as a company, and without the company, there is no staff. The company also should understand that the staff needs funds so as at least to keep body and soul together, so that your take home takes you home and not ends at the bus stop, right? So it has to be a win-win situation between both of them. But if that compromise is not reached, this will just be a child's play.
Oh,
But I
wow.
think that compromise will be reached.
But
I believe so.
if the compromise is not reached, what does that mean for Nigerians who have to fly? Because I think the image should be painted so that everyone understands. It shouldn't get to the point where it will now be Nigerians begging NACO to do what they need to do. If NACO does not address this situation, what are Nigerians expecting worst case scenario?
Now, the worst case scenario is that NACO will lose their contracts, because NACO is not the only agency handling passengers. We have SACO, we have PACO. Now, what any reasonable airline should start thinking is to get a standby. So I either engage SACO and give them some part of the contract, give NACO some, so that if one fails, the other one can augment. So if NACO fails, you have to rely back on SACO. But if SACO is not being given any part of the deal and NACO fails, then everybody is grounded, because nobody will take your bags to the aircraft. Nobody will take your bags off the aircraft. Nobody will clean the aircraft toilet. Nobody is going to clean the aircraft. Nobody is going to put stairs. If you do not have APU, which is the auxiliary power unit of the aircraft, nobody is going to power it with the ground power. If your aircraft APU is not serviceable, nobody is going to give you air starter. Nobody is going to give you jet support. Meaning that's why sometimes if the APU is bad, you see people entering the aircraft and it's very hot. Some people say they are gasping for air and the likes. So if the GPU is not there, that's the situation you keep getting. It's not going to be funny. It's not going to be funny, but I assume that SACO will rise to the challenge and salvage the situation.
So undertone with your response now is also the likelihood of people employed under NACO losing jobs.
Of course, yes. And I also like the fact that, if these pictures are not painted, you do not even know the amount of work that NACO is doing. Yeah. Look at all the things that has been enumerated here as part of the functionality of NACO. But let me ask this question. There was actually a suit that was filed against the unions at the National Industrial Court. Now, I'm hearing that the management of NACO has withdrawn that suit. Can you tell us more about it and why the withdrawal fuel, and if these issues are not properly addressed, where do we go from here? I know that you have already said that the Monday down tooling was just a tip of the iceberg. What we're expecting could be worse. So just let us know some more on the lawsuits now.
Now, you see, the same thing they did to Aero in 2016, they went to the industrial court. Union won them in industrial court. I guess now in the industrial court, the court is, maybe they've given them a heads up. Guys, you'd rather do out of court settlement, otherwise this will go messy for you and you will not be able to pay. So you rather want to pull out and do out of court settlement, and which I think is a wise decision NACO took. Let's do out of court settlement. Let's see how we can do this. Now, there's something I didn't mention, right? For the international bodies, like the big white aircraft, aircraft don't fly unless the total weight of the aircraft is calculated.
Okay.
So we pick each bag, the weight of the water on that aircraft, the weight of the catering, the weight of individual on that aircraft, the weight of the fuel, and it has to be calculated and loaded in such a way that the machine has to be in equilibrium. If that does not happen, the machine may not be able to take off or may not be able to land. And if it does, the landing gears may break or something else. NACO is responsible for those calculations. So the safety margin that will be compromised is wide. So I am so sure that the NACO management, now knowing what is at stake, out of court settlement is the best option for them. And I honestly pray and hope that this issue is resolved as soon as practicable.
Okay, very serious concerns there, but I think at this point we'll just have to put a pause on the conversation and say thank you so much for your time with us on set this morning, addressing some of the issues affecting the aviation sector. And then I think we should even harp on the fact that we don't know how it is with the Jet A1. Has it come down? Is it still very high in price? Is there availability now, or we're still battling with that issue?
Now, the least you get per liter is around 870. Well, it's varying between 870, 900, 950, thereabout. Some people are doing pay as you go. Before I fail you, give me the cash. And it's just that people are struggling. The airlines are trying to get into an understanding, pay upfront, then as you supply, we deduct from what you have paid. We're just hopeful that 2022 will get better. But as it
2023, you
stands,
mean?
the correction, 2023, thank you. 2023 will get better. But as it stands, we're still in the 2022 situation. The fuel is still very high.
Oh, it's still very high. Okay. I think there's also the conversation of the federal government trying to introduce Nigeria Air. And then we had several bodies under the aviation industry trying to fight some of the clauses in that move. What's currently happening with the introduction of Nigeria Air? Because it feels like for some quarters, people think if Nigeria Air will come on board, it will ease some of the transactions with regards to aviation. But what's the situation on ground? We've had several unions under the aviation industry kick against that move and the collaboration intended by the federal government.
The Nigerian people, we are transactional in our policies, right? And even in our reaction, we are transactional. Left on me, I stand to be corrected. The national carrier is a welcome development. Government don't have business running an airline. Government do not know how to run an airline. The government have not been transparent enough to let us know in the direction they are going. Initially, it was supposed to be with Lufthansa. Next, it was supposed to be with Emirates. And now we're hearing it's with ET. Now, if you're giving them the majority of share, I personally do not have a problem with that on the condition that there should be a management of change in place to do the handing over. Because as it stands, if you go by what is obtainable in Nigeria, appointing people based on man, no man, and instead of competence, the management team is going to mess up the system again. So rather have it over to someone neutral who will do a management of change and get it on board. Now, the next fear that most of the airlines have is if you get the national carrier on board, it's a big competition for the other players. So they feel threatened as far as I'm concerned. And that is why they are doing all this, their litigation and the likes of them. The unions, unfortunately, are being used. I do not see anything wrong in you bringing a national carrier. Give 50 something percent to ET, provided they deliver service. ET is so competent in running an airline. So if these guys have done it over the years, so why not get them into your system to at least run it for a while before you hand over to your nationals? The lawsuit is unnecessary as far as I'm concerned. And I just feel is transactional policy that the AON wants. But let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Chidiebere Ahodama.
Ohadoma.
Ahodama.
Ohadoma.
Ohadoma.
Ohadoma. Okay, thank you
Yeah.
so much for the correction.
Nice.
Aviation ground instructor and chief ground instructor for Universal School of Aviation, a quality and safety manager for Gyro Air Limited, a flight dispatcher, Nigeria CAA and FAA, aircraft maintenance engineer, and NDT level 2 engineer as well. There's so much to your portfolio this morning. Thank you so much for your time, and do have a
Thank you.
fantastic day.
Sure. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Well,
Serious concerns. I like the fact that you brought up, the Nigerian air thing, and obviously, from what Chidiebere is saying, let us base, let us give to competent people. Let us bring competency in rather than doing the compensation plan that we normally do. Oh, let me just use it to compensate my brother or my in-law or something. Let me give it to my brother's company to handle, when they know that they do not even have the competence to do these things. And the aviation sector is a very delicate and very technical sector in the economy of Nigeria. And so if you want to deal with those kinds of technicalities, then bring the people, the right people that can do the job.
that's very important. So, some of these sentiments need to be weighed back and forth. The overall good of the nation should always supersede every other thing that we do if we want to build a Nigeria that is good for all. But at this time, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be bringing you a tidbit segment to stay with us.